When you did finally find out that it was King Von who died, how'd you feel?
I was like, damn. If Brian did that stupid shit last night, his ass still would have been alive.
New footage of a murder linked to Lil Tim's circle has surfaced, and the rapper has absolutely lost it. The clip is shocking, chaotic, and the internet can't stop buzzing about his reaction. In this video, I'll break down every detail. Lil Tim's explosive reaction. Recently, a video allegedly showing elements of the King Von shooting resurfaced online, reportedly shared by one of Lil Tim's close associates. The release of this footage triggered an intense and highly public reaction from Lil Tim, who appeared visibly distraught and agitated in his social media responses. Witnesses and clips circulating on platforms suggest that the rapper expressed frustration, anger, and disbelief, indicating the video reopened unresolved tensions surrounding the case.
And you and Youngboy had a conversation. What was that conversation like?
I probably talked to him a couple months later, and he was just saying like the same thing everybody else saying, like, don't worry about it, what the industry's saying or what's going on in the air, bro. You ain't did nothing wrong. You gonna beat the case and shit like that. Like,
while the footage itself has not been verified by law enforcement or independent sources, its emergence has reignited public scrutiny of the events that led to King Von's death. The original shooting, which occurred outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta on November 6, 2020, involved a confrontation between two groups that escalated into gunfire. Lil Tim, who had previously faced felony murder charges in connection to the incident, had his case dismissed in August 2023 due to insufficient evidence, leaving questions about the sequence of events unresolved. Experts caution that circulating footage, particularly when unverified, can create misleading narratives. In Lil Tim's case, the video appears to have triggered emotional responses that reflect both personal and legal anxieties, suggesting the long shadow of the 2020 shooting still weighs heavily. Public reaction has been polarized. Some see the clip as shedding new light, while others warn it risks inflaming misinformation. The situation underscores a broader challenge. Even when charges are dropped, new material, verified or not, can reopen public debate and personal stress. For Lil Tim, the resurfacing of this footage is not just a social media moment. It is a reminder that the events of that night remain contested, with details still unclear and the consequences far from fully resolved. Shootout fallout. The events leading to King Von's death began in the early hours of November 6, 2020, when two opposing groups, one including King Von, the other including Lil Tim and associates, reportedly engaged in a heated confrontation outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta.
Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
yeah, the gun jammed.
Oh, the gun jammed?
Yeah.
After the 4th shot?
Probably like the 3rd shot.
According to police statements, initial physical altercations escalated rapidly into gunfire. Multiple rounds were exchanged, and the chaos reportedly involved both civilian and law enforcement gunfire, with club security officers allegedly engaging some of the individuals present. In the immediate aftermath, several people were shot. Among the casualties was King Von, who succumbed to multiple gunshot wounds. Surveillance and body cam footage from that night has since circulated online. One clip, described as arrest footage, shows a member of King Von's group being detained, handcuffed, and asked by officers whether Von was alive. This video documents part of the chaotic and immediate response, capturing fears and confusion on site. Despite footage and eyewitness claims, significant unknowns remain. It is unclear whether all shots that hit Von came from Lil Tim, or whether some may have originated from police return fire. The conflicting possibilities muddy reconstructions of the shooting, making it difficult to definitively assign who fired the fatal shot under public scrutiny. As such, the night remains contested, documented in police arrest footage, but with critical gaps. For many observers, the absence of a conclusive public forensic or court-verified breakdown leaves open many of the toughest, most consequential questions. From bond to beat release. After his arrest in November 2020, Lil Tim was granted bail, reportedly in March 2021, set at $100,000. During that period, the case remained active, with prosecutors preparing for a potential trial.
Okay, so you're locked up for 6 months over this shooting.
Yeah.
But eventually, they give you a bond.
Yeah.
$100,000.
Right.
Does Quando help you pay that?
Yeah.
More than 2 years later, when the prosecution dropped the case, Lil Tim moved quickly to reassert his public persona. He released a music video titled Left a Stain, in which he references the dismissal of charges and shows a symbolic removal of his ankle monitor, suggesting freedom and clearance in the public eye. Lyrics from the video include a triumphant tone. "I told him about my good news, I'm about to beat this case," a line that many interpreted as a direct assertion of victory over the legal ordeal. The release of the song quickly stirred reactions across the hip-hop community. Some fans applauded what they saw as Lil Tim's vindication. Others, including associates of the late rapper, argued the move was insensitive or provocative given the unresolved nature of King Von's death and the emotions surrounding it. But even as Lil Tim celebrates publicly, the legal and factual waters remain murky. Drop charges don't equate to full exoneration, and while the video constructs a narrative of survival and vindication, many questions remain about what actually happened that night, and whether the truth will ever be fully known. Justice deferred or justice denied. The dismissal of charges against Lil Tim raises deep systemic questions about how cases of this magnitude get resolved and what resolution really means. When prosecutors drop a felony murder charge before indictment, as happened here, it sidesteps the adversarial process. No trial, no presentation of evidence before a jury, and no verdict. In legal terms, that means no definitive judicial determination of innocence, only that the state chose not to proceed.
Okay, when you found out that all the charges are being dropped against you, how'd you feel?
My mama surprised me. She made it seem like it was a emergency.
For many outside observers and critics, this outcome can feel like justice deferred rather than justice served. The family and supporters of the victim, King Von, and the broader public may be left without closure. No accounting of precisely what happened, no verified chain of culpability, no accountability. This uncertainty matters for more than just public narrative. It shapes trust or distrust in the criminal justice system, especially when high-profile figures are involved. Dropping a case in a celebrity-related murder stirs suspicion that influence, legal savvy, or public pressure played a greater role than factual clarity, even if that's not the case. Moreover, when widely circulated footage exists, arrest tape, club surveillance, yet no full trial or forensic breakdown happens, it spotlights a reality. Evidence and public access do not always guarantee justice or accountability. That gap between documentation and legal closure leaves space for speculation, rumor, and conflicting narratives, complicating the legacy of all involved. For many, the question becomes, is the system serving justice or protecting the status quo by quietly letting serious cases fade away? Voices of doubt. The decision to drop charges against Lil Tim didn't land quietly. It reignited a storm of anger, grief, and suspicion from fans and relatives of King Von. Immediately after prosecutors announced the case dismissal, reactions poured in on social media. According to reports, King Von's former partner Asian Doll, among others close to the late rapper, accused official sources of covering up the truth. In a now-deleted tweet, she wrote, "Because the police said Tim ain't kill him, the police did."
Miscellaneous shit, I don't waste my time watching that shit.
Well, that's why Lil Tim's charges got dropped. It's because they said that the cops' bullets were actually what did it.
That's what they saying?
That's what they're saying.
The accusation implies a deeper distrust, not just of the shooter, but of law enforcement and the integrity of the investigation. For many, the shooting remained unresolved, far from a neat conclusion. The dismissal left unanswered questions. Was there enough evidence? Did investigators consider alternate shooters, including responding officers? If multiple people fired that night, who fired the fatal shot? The ambiguity continues to fuel speculation. Observers have pointed out that when a high-stakes public case ends without a trial or verdict, the legal closure does little to assuage the emotional and moral pain of those affected. Within the fan community, this backlash manifested in heated debates. Some took Lil Tim's freedom as a legal victory. Others saw it as a miscarriage of justice. Many criticized what they perceived as a system that disproportionately benefits those with resources, fame, or connections. These feelings were compounded by lingering uncertainty about whether investigators fully examined every angle, including police gunfire, multiple shooters, and conflicting witness statements. Ultimately, the public uproar underscores a critical tension. Legal outcomes don't always equal moral reckoning. In this case, for many of King Von's supporters, there is no closure, only grief, unresolved doubt, and demand for truth. Physical and psychological fallout. In reflections following the shooting and his release, Lil Tim has described significant after effects, not only legal relief, but also serious physical and psychological consequences. In a recent interview, he revealed that he was shot by police during the incident, requiring surgery and a colostomy bag. According to him, that event altered his health, routine, and day-to-day life deeply, a fact that complicates the public narrative of him simply getting away.
It's like, not saying he perfect or nothing like that. I'm just saying, like, people are already disliking him and stuff, but there's no reason why they could really say they dislike him or they dislike him. It's like, it's not no real reason, because it's like, I'm the one who did something. He ain't did nothing.
The trauma he recounts adds layers to the already messy story. Beyond whether he legally killed King Von, there is the burden of surviving the shooting, dealing with long-term medical issues, and reconciling that with public scrutiny, stigma, and accusations. For a figure that many view through a polarizing lens, as either a gangster, a victim, or somewhere in between, this dimension reframes the aftermath as more than a legal saga. It becomes a story of survival, consequence, and the human toll of violence. At the same time, such claims raise their own questions. Without transparent medical documentation or independent verification, observers remain cautious about accepting the full extent of his account at face value. The conflicting testimonies, unverified footage, and lack of public documentation create fertile ground for doubt. This tension between the defendant's lived suffering and public skepticism underscores the difficulty of reconciling a narrative of guilt, innocence, and harm in a high-profile case marked by chaos and conflicting perspectives. In short, even with charges dropped, the physical and psychological aftermath of the night lives on. For some, it reframes the story, not as simple guilt or innocence, but as trauma, survival, and ongoing consequences. The end, or just the beginning. Why this case still matters. Though prosecutors dismissed the felony murder charge against Lul Tim, that doesn't mean the case, or its implications, are over. The public discourse around the shooting, its aftermath, and unresolved questions suggest that this event continues to reverberate. For many, the absence of a verdict or a trial isn't closure, it's a void.
A 22-year-old man named Timothy Leaks is reportedly facing felony murder charges in connection with the death of King Von.
First, the social repercussions endure. The reactions from King Von's circle, including Asian Doll, reflect ongoing distrust of official narratives and resistance to what many view as a sanitized account of events. This skepticism keeps alive alternative theories, that the fatal shots may not have come solely from Lul Tim, or that other actors, perhaps law enforcement, could be involved. Second, the case remains emblematic of larger systemic issues. The difficulty of prosecuting violent crimes involving multiple shooters, crowd chaos, and conflicting testimonies. The fact that the dismissal came because prosecutors found evidence insufficient rather than absolute innocence highlights how legal standards, proof beyond reasonable doubt, can leave public faith in justice unfulfilled. Third, the narrative impacts how similar cases might be viewed in the future. Gang-linked violence, celebrities with street backgrounds, and shootings with multiple participants. This case might influence public perception, legal strategy, and media coverage of future incidents involving rappers and violence. Finally, the emotional and cultural wounds, grief, anger, loss, unresolved suspicion, may persist far longer than legal documents. For fans, peers, and communities touched by the tragedy, this isn't just another closed file, it's an open scar. As long as questions linger, the story remains alive. Before you go, remember, Lul Tim losing it over his homie's new murder footage is just the tip of the story. The reactions, the drama, the unanswered questions, it's all part of a bigger situation the public hasn't seen in full. If you want to know what happens next, the fallout, the responses from the streets, and the developments that could shake the scene, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The next reveal could change everything.